equilateral, trapezoid, isosceles, tetrahedron.
I have never seen a mind like the one your daughter has. You have to see what she becomes.
Come on! So I'm asking you, Pharrell, why haven't we heard this story before?
First of all, I think those brilliant women were a victim of the era and circumstance. Up until recently, you know, a woman's contribution to history has often been dismissed, discounted, and often at times even erased from public acknowledgement. And so, you know, when we first heard about this story, it was like, man, of course I want to be a part of it. You know, it's 3 African-American protagonists, or just female protagonists. Show me a film with 3 female protagonists, right?
We all gonna end up unemployed riding around in this pile of junk.
You're welcome to walk the 16 miles.
Or sit in the back of the bus.
3 African-American protagonists back in the 60s. So obviously, you know, the plight of a female, period, right? And imagine being African-American female in the 1960s.
In an area that you grew up in.
Yes, I was getting to that. And so there was also space, NASA, 2 things that I've always been obsessed with as a child. The idea that these women were scientists and engineers and mathematicians, when you can barely find a film about any of those studies in today's films or even television. And the idea that this all happened in my hometown of Hampton Roads, Virginia, it was just too many touch points for us to, you know, for us to not be involved.
You know that we're able.
I want to talk about one song. There's 2 songs in particular that stick out for me, Running, but the one we just heard, I See a Victory. And let's talk about that, because I feel that song has great resonance in this film, but it has great resonance outside this film as well.
I see when you push women down, you're actually pushing them to stand up even stronger. And it's just, I'm nervous, but I'm also excited, you know, because, you know, those oftentimes in our lives, those moments where something amazing happens, we go into fight or flight. I'm in fight or flight right now, but I think women are gonna save this nation. I think there's a gender bias that is just proving to push everything through, and there are men that love and support their women and their sisters and their aunts and their grandmothers, their daughters and their nieces, and we're gonna see something historical happen right now. And to me, this film embodies that, you know, hidden no more, hidden no more.
Every time we have a chance to get ahead, they move the finish line. Every time.
We all get there together, we don't get there at all.
We talk about going to Mars, and it's so awesome that we're going to put humans there. But the first probe was in 1976, and she was largely responsible for that. This is a mathematics savant, Katherine Johnston.
Well, and we saw the scene where John Glenn basically says, and I won't give too much away, but basically there's a little bit of a division about the numbers for the landing. And an early version of an IBM, I guess it's fair to say, is used.
Sure.
And John Glenn says, no.
Yeah.
I want Katherine to tell me what the numbers are, or I'm not going up. Yeah, because and she does. In mere minutes, she figures it out.
Yeah, because in those days, those men were not using the computers that were as big as walls. Our government did, but they didn't trust them because they weren't. You know, the idea and the concept of a computer was still very new to them. So when they heard the word computer, they thought about like mathematicians as in computers, which is why they called Catherine and Dorothy and Mary colored computers, because they were human, you know? So he said, well, look, the machines or whatever, I'm gonna listen to the girl. And so it's really interesting, the sort of poetry that you see in that moment, because it's like, man, he really depended on that genius brain of hers.